Ian Lees-Galloway.
Mr Chair, I did wonder if the Minister was going to respond to the Honourable Rick Barker's questions, but maybe he needs a little time, and I'm prepared to help him get that time. I want to come to my own SOP on Clause 4, but before I do that, I'd just like to respond to Heather Roy and just briefly set out why Labour will oppose her supplementary order paper. Whilst she's absolutely right in saying that I have expressed the view in this House that prohibition has its limitations, to be fair, I think what Heather Roy is proposing, first of all, won't actually change the status quo all that much, but second of all, allows for the continued, I suppose, commercialisation of these products, which is something that even if one has concerns about the effect of prohibition as a mechanism of controlling drugs, it is also true that the over-commercialisation of substances is of equal concern. So Heather Roy has proposed that these drugs can only be sold to people over the age of 18. Well, in fact, the status quo is that most of these substances already have an R18 restriction on them. That doesn't come about because they are psychoactive substances. It comes about because the vast majority of them can be smoked, and therefore they fall under the purview of the Smoke-Free Environments Act, and therefore have an R18 restriction on them. So for the overwhelming bulk, and I think probably just about all the substances that we're really focusing on here, the notion of introducing an R18 restriction actually makes no difference to the current situation. And what it doesn't do, of course, is to get these products out of dairies and out of sight. And that is, I suppose, a concern to everybody in the House, except for the ACT Party perhaps, that that things like chronic in particular are heavily marketed at the point of sale. You go into a dairy, you go into some liquor stores these days, and you see a lot of the advertising. There's a tobacconist in my electorate in Palmerston North, where the outside wall now just seems to be completely covered in chronic advertising, and so that it still has it well and truly on display. And we know for a fact that even though these substances are already R18, that young people under the age of 18 are able to get their hands on them. So no real effect there, and still having this issue of the advertising, the commercialisation of the substance. So whilst, as a number of us said, we don't think that the Minister's what the Minister is suggesting is ideal, and that the process is not ideal, it is a useful stopgap measure in the interim whilst we get this issue sorted out and come up with something more permanent and more sustainable. On the issue of pipes and other utensils and the amendment that I have put up to have Clause 4 removed, this is a matter of harm minimisation. We are supporting the measures in this bill that support the minimisation of harm. Some of them, we argue, will do very little to minimise harm, but they will do something to minimise harm. Others we support because we think they will do more to minimise harm. But further restricting the ability to have access to drug utensils will do absolutely nothing to minimise harm. And I'd like to refer to the comments made by Nikki Wagner, who compared this to the recent ban on point-of-sale tobacco advertising. Of course, what we didn't do when we got rid of tobacco advertising was to get rid of the ability to display tobacco smoking pipes, for instance. And in fact, when I put up my own piece of legislation to deal with the tobacco display issue, the Attorney General came back and said that getting rid of tobacco smoking utensils was too great a contravention of the Bill of Rights to go ahead. So the consistent approach, and Nikki Wagner sought a consistent approach, is to actually not get rid of the ability to display these drug utensils. And Nikki Wagner made the argument that it somehow glamorises drug use, But actually what these utensils do is offer a mechanism by which the harm associated with those... Mr Chair?
David Bennett.
I move that the question be now put.
The question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Party vote's called for. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
57 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
42 votes opposed.
Green Party.
9 votes opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
4 votes opposed.
Māori Party.
4 votes in favour.
Progressive.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Mana. Honourable Chris Carter.
1 vote opposed.
Any other votes?
Members, the ayes are 62, the noes are 57. The question will be put. We have a number of amendments. The first amendment in the name of Heather Roy is to insert new clause 3A as set out on SOP number 261. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The noes have it. Is that it? Party vote's called for. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
57 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
42 votes opposed.
Green Party.
9 votes opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
4 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
4 votes opposed.
Progressive. Progressive.
Oh, sorry. 1 opposed.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Mana. Honourable Chris Carter.
1 vote opposed.
Any other votes?
I don't know. Point of order, Mr Chair.
Point of order, the Honourable Peter
It
Dunn.
appears I may have inadvertently voted for an amendment I wish to vote against. Yes.
Yes, yeah, that's
So
fine.
can I change that?
We will correct the record.
I was anticipating the next one. Yes.
Members, the ayes are 4, the noes are 115. The amendment is not agreed to. We now come to the amendment in the name of Lees-Galloway to omit clause 4 as set out on SOP number 260. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. No. The noes have it. Noes have it. Party vote's called for. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
57 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
42 votes in favour.
Green Party.
9 votes opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
4 votes opposed.
Māori Party.
4 votes opposed.
Progressive.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
And yeah, 1 vote opposed. Just want to get it right this time.
Mana. Honourable Chris Carter.
1 vote opposed.
Any other votes?
Members, the ayes are 43, the noes are 76. The amendment is not agreed to. The next amendment in the Minister's name is set out on SOP number 258. The question is that the Minister's amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. No, party vote. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
57 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
42 votes in favour.
Green Party.
9 votes opposed.
Act New Zealand.
4 votes opposed.
Māori Party.
4 votes in favour.
Progressive.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Mana. Honourable Chris Carter.
1 vote opposed.
Any other votes?
A point of order, David Clinton.
Mr Chair, my apologies. I in fact voted incorrectly on the SOP in relation in the name of Mr Ian Galloway's. I would like to change
I'll accept your point of order in a second. Can we just finish? We're in the middle of a vote on another amendment.
Excuse me, thank you.
But I'll accept your amendment, your point of order in a moment. Members, the ayes are 105, the noes are 14. The Minister's amendments are agreed to. Point of order, David Clendon.
Mr Speaker, yes, the votes cast for the Greens and for the Honourable Chris Carter for Mr Lees-Galloway's amendment ought to have been in support rather than opposed. My apologies for the error.
So I'll just... you're seeking leave to change the vote because I've already declared the vote. Just seek leave and ask for the changes to be made.
Thank you, Mr Chair.
No, you
I
seek
leave to change the votes cast by the Greens.
Leave is sought for that purpose. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Now, the new result now is that the ayes are 44, the noes are 75. The amendment in the name of Lees-Galloway is not agreed to. Is there some confusion over this, is there?
The green vote should be over there.
I just need to clarify. Could I ask David Clendon, please state specifically what you want changed by way of a leave. By leave, please.
Thank you, Mr Chair. By leave, I'd ask leave to change the Green Party vote in respect of Mr Lees-Galloway's amendment, 9 votes in favour.
Yes.
Mr Carter's vote, 1 vote in favour.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, the corrected vote on Ian Lees-Galloway's amendment is the ayes are 53, the noes are 66. The amendment is not agreed to. Members, the question now is that Part 1 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. These party votes called for. We'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
57 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
42 votes in favour.
Green Party.
9 votes opposed.
Act New Zealand.
4 votes opposed.
Māori Party.
4 votes in favour.
Progressive.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Mana. Honourable Chris Carter.
1 vote opposed.
Any other votes?